Hello everybody. In this video we are going to learn how to do a real login application. What we did the last time, we faked the authorization and we just faked the state, and we were able just to pull up the information that we needed. But we have pretty much the concept regarding faking a database, getting the user from the database and things like that, right? We're going to use a real system, a real software for that, and we will rely on Firebase. Firebase is one of the most that we can actually use. In a real world scenario, local authentication doesn't exist that much anymore. And in order to handle it, you will need to have to secure a backend, and we are not there yet. So it is better to actually use a third party for that. So I want to use Firebase, and we're going to use it into modes. We're going to use the local authentication through Firebase, and we're going to use the Gmail authentication or the Google authentication through Firebase. Firebase is a Google product at the end. And you can do Apple authentication, Microsoft authentication, GitHub. There's a bunch of those that you can actually apply. But I believe this will be more than enough. And in this video, I will focus on the local authentication. In a future video, the next one probably will do the Google authentication, and later we will continue using the rest of the Firebase products, so we can actually rely what else they can do for us. They have a really cool real-time database uh, module that we can actually implement, and it's pretty cool, and it's free to use as a developer. The entry tier is actually free, so we can actually test our application and leverage that, but without paying any extra cost at the beginning, so upfront. So it's actually really cool. So the first thing that you will need to go to firebase.google.com, and you need to log in with your Gmail credential. Hope that you have those. If not, you will need to create one. And you need to go to the console. Right now I'm already logging in, so you go to the console. I already have like a bunch of applications there, but you need to create an application. I will call this view trees login test. Oops, test. And I do continue. I will disable analytics. I don't need analytics in this case. And we just create a project. We wait for a couple of minutes until our project is going to be provisioned. And this actually is going to rely on the Google Cloud. And we're going to be using it. So let's wait for a bit. Project is ready. We will continue. And we're going to open our project. There's a couple of things that we need to do over here. One, we need to go to the get started. We're going to add an application to the project, and we're going to click the web section. We are going to do a web app. We are going to connect view, and we'll go view app. Let's call it like that, or anything could be there, and we just register right away. And this will provide a couple of credentials that we will require later, but for now we just keep it like that. We can actually see that we need to install Firebase as dependencies, and this is pretty much the way that we will need it in order to initiate the app. Everything that you can see here in the Firebase config, those are specific keys for this particular project. Need to be secure in your code, so it's important we don't need to upload any of those to GitHub, and I will show you how to do it. But pretty much we just need to install Firebase and utilize this, and we will do it later, right? So let me just continue. After we have the application up, it's already there. We just go to the authentication method. We can actually use Cloud Store. We verify performance, analytics. We can send message testings. There's a bunch of stuff that we can implement to Firebase, but we're going to just focus on the authentication piece. We just click authentication. Let me open it again. There you go. And we just get started. And for now, we're going to use the email password. We will use Google later, but for now, we use email password. As you can see, all these are the type of authentication that we can actually handle. So let me use email. I will enable it. and save it. I will not click the password let's sign in. I will just keep the traditional email password one. After it gets done, and we wait this to be saved, we need to add an authorized domain. That means which domains are able to go in and do the testing. So for here, I will type the URL that I will think I will use. So which is view login dot Rodolroman, I believe. Rodolroman.com is my URL, and view login will be the subdomain that we'll use for this. So after I have those, I just add it, and that should be it. Let me just in case Rodolroman. I have an issue with my Rodolroman. Yeah, it's working. Yes, that's where I need to point. Perfect. So after we have that, we pretty much have everything set up here. We're going to get back through the app. We can click here in the app. We can click in the settings section in order to pull up the permission, and we can actually see those right here. So we keep those right there. The second step, or the next we're going to go, is I will go to the fake authorization, and we use this as a base code in order to create the other one. So we already learned that we need to go to settings and convert this to a template. It's the easiest way, I believe. And we need to save it. Where is the save button? I believe it's already done. Let me get back and can use this one. Use template. I will call this repository view login. Need to be public, remember. So if I will able to create your assignment, and I will create from the template. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes, and we're going to copy over. Let me just copy this. Actually, I believe in my case I will do the SSH, but for you, remember to do the HTTP as well. You don't have your keys enabled, right? So after I have that, I will can go this to the left. Oops, sorry for that. And let me do a simple git clone. That one. I'm already in my repository. There you go. I go to view login. The new one I created. I will install everything, npmi. After I have that, I want to do something because I did this long ago. I will do npm out just to verify if I have outdated dependencies. And yes, I have about a couple of those. In this particular case, I can see that my plugin view is a minor version behind. A couple of minor versions. It doesn't jump to 7. This one, yes, a little bit behind. This one, a little bit behind, and behind. View and view router is the correct one, so actually view is a little bit behind. So we can actually do without issues npm update, and we should be able just to update all our dependencies. It is important to do that often, just to verify that we have the latest and greatest. Do npm out again, and yes, we have the current and the wanted. That's what we need. We don't always need to go to latest. In this case, Vue 3 and Vue Router 4 are not the latest available. They are still keeping dependencies with the old version, but this is the wanted one. So we actually keep the current one, the wanted, which should be fine. So after we have that, we just do npm run dev, and we can actually open our code, and we have our fake authorization that need to change, right? We go to the about, it's working, login, we do admin, I believe we call it like that, and welcome administrator, and we have access to the secret page. So saying that, we can actually proceed with the code. Let me open it, and let me run it, npm run dev. we should be able to open my code here, and I will open that one over here. Perfect. So the first thing that I will do is, because we updated dependencies, I will just do updated dependencies in my GitHub. Yes, let's do this. It's complaining. Why is complaining? Okay, I need to do this. Sorry about this. Let me just copy this command. Let me open my terminal. Execute it. Enter. And that should be enough to synchronize. No, I didn't like it. It's actually weird. Let me check what is happening here. Didn't like it. And I don't know why. Let me go to another option. If that doesn't work, that's okay. We keep it like that. Sorry for that delay. Okay, let me clear everything. And let me start doing some changes. So I will open my navbar. Let me look for my navbar.view. Where is it? My source, components, nav actually. And what I'm going to be doing here, I'll probably make this a little bit smaller. I probably can move this a little bit to the right. There you go. Let's call this, instead of fake, let's put real out authorization. Perfect. We have indigo. Let's change the color to yellow. Well, it's something. Just to have something different there. And the text, let's actually change to yellow too. Right? The hover over, let me check this over here. So we need to change this to yellow. Right? To yellow. Yellow. And the text is going to be yellow, yellow, yellow. There you go. About, home, login page, everything is there. So we just changed that in order to make it a little bit different. I will change also the content of my package JSON. So I will change this to fake out to real out, just to have a different name. And I will change on my index HTML to view real out. Right? That's pretty much, I believe we have most of the pieces there. I want to do something extra that probably we never did before. So let me open the README and let's change this to view 3 plus Firebase authorization. Right? And let's remove this. And probably should be more than enough. Yeah. Okay, after we have those, let me add it, and I just put basic setup. Cool. So we can actually proceed what we actually need to do. The first thing we need to do, we need to install Firebase. as our dependency itself. So I will open my terminal and I will execute npm install Firebase. We are going to wait for a minute. And when it's done, like this, we can actually remove this from here, and we can actually do under composable. I want to use a new file called use Firebase. This is where all the logic Firebase will rely. And in order to initialize the app, we just need pretty much copy all everything that is here and paste it. That's pretty much everything we need. So let's remove the comments. We don't need those comments to be here. Let me remove this comment over here, and let's remove this one over here. There you go. So there's two things that I want to do here. I want to change the app to actually be called Firebase app, and I would like to export. Right? I want to my use Firebase to be able to use my Firebase app if that's actually needed. Something extra that we'll need to do, I will take my configuration and I will go to my source directory, new file, and I call this Firebase config.javascript, and we type export that configuration. You can actually, instead of conf, we can do default. Actually more than enough. Now that we have that there, it is important, as you can see, our Visual Studio tells us that it's a new file. Before we actually commit it and add it, I want to go to my git ignore file, and I will type source directory Firebase config.javascript and save it. That will say to Git to ignore that file, and we don't need to keep track of that. It is important, it's really important not to save your keys anywhere in GitHub, right? Because it's a public repository and somebody can use your keys for doing something extra. Right now, I don't worry to show my keys because when the video is going to be released, those keys are going to be already changed, so don't worry about that. But for you, you just need to keep your keys secret and remember that section. So now that I have that, I can go back to Firebase and I can actually use import Firebase config from my Firebase config. And this will be something like this, pretty much. Let me minimize this. We have the Firebase authorization already created and the way that it's supposed to. Now, so we just create that one the way that it is. So let's get back here. Let's go to authentication, and I will add a user. Let's put this user at fake.com, and let's put fake123 and add it. And we can add user through the Firebase console the way that I just did it. We are going to, Firebase will give us an ID for that particular user by default, something that we can actually use later. But for now, this should be more than enough. So let's actually get started with authentication here. I'm going to go all the way to the authentication on the left, and let's do web, and let's click and get started. So we already have the Firebase SDK. So what we need to do is we need to create the user with email and password and be able to save that. But for that, we just keep it a little bit as it is. We're going to use first the sign-in method. So something that we're actually using here is we need to import get authorization from Firebase out. Is something that we don't have yet. And then that function we actually save it somewhere else. and then whenever we sign in somebody, we send that authentication through here. So we can actually do something like this. We can actually import, and let's call this get out from, and it's going to be Firebase authorization, and then we can actually export cons Firebase out equal get out, but something that is not giving us there, or not telling us, is that we need to send the Firebase application to this authentication method. So having that, we can actually say that the use Firebase is pretty much done. So the only things that we need to start changing now is in our use authorization method. Here when we fake the database, and we have the login, the logout, and that's it. So we're going to reuse the login in a different way, implementing this sign-in method that we have right here. So the first thing that I want to use is, I will keep the is authenticated the way that it is. I will keep the user like this. I will remove my user from the database. I don't need those anymore. I'm not faking it anymore. And my login will change. I need to have my username and password. My logout, well, we're going to do this on the logout for now. So let's keep it like that. Well, let's start actually working. So in order to make the Firebase authorizations to work, we need to import the sign-in with email and password. So we're going to import. We'll sign in email and password from Firebase authorization, right? And then I need to pretty much send the email and password and the authorization method. Authorization is already saved in my use Firebase method, so I can actually use now import Firebase authorization from use Firebase, right? So that means that in my login, I will just use this method inside, sign in with email and password, and I need to send my authorization method that is going to be Firebase authorization, comma, username, password, right? Here we have the promise method. I want to use it the async await. So that means that I will make this to be asynchronous. So I need to wait for this to execute. But not only awaiting, and let me make this smaller so you can actually see it. We need to get the response of the credential. So I like to call this cons response equal await that, right? And then we can actually say we are going to wait, and if it is successful, we're going to check if their user exists. My response user, we can see they color user credential. If the user exists, I can actually use my is authenticated is going to be true, and my user value is going to be res.user. Let's change this to .email in this case, because the user is actually a really big object. Let's use the email section only, right? And that should be it. I believe this should be more than enough to actually make it work. Let's try it, and hopefully it's working. So as you remember, we created the user fake with the fake 123 password, and we're going to get back the email, and let's see if it's actually working. and it's not. We have an issue. So let's verify what is happening here. Oh, I'm not closing it this. There you go. Maybe. Oh wait, that was fine. So let me inspect. Let me go to my console. I have an issue. Let's call this REST to response. No. Use authorization. I have an issue. Which one? Let's change this response to credentials. And this one is not doing credentials. I have a reserved word somewhere. Let me verify where is my reserved word that is actually not working. I have an issue. One should be in. Oh wait, important Firebase with that is without the add. Let me save this. Now it's still complaining or not? Probably just need to. It's always something happens here. Let's restart my server. Respect the reserver word in here. Line 12. Have my cons credentials. Sign in with email and password. Send in my Firebase authorization. Username and password. And I close that. Oh wait, I know what is happening here. My synchronous, it should not be at this level, it's at the login level. Let me say that works. Firebase config is not defined. Didn't like it, my Firebase config. Let me export the cons. On here I will get the Firebase config like this. There you go. Somehow I didn't like it. Okay, there you go. So if I to go to login and I put some random, we still have the invalid username and password. Okay, but if I use user at fake.com and the password is fake123, we log in. There you go. User fake.com is actually working. We're able to log in user or Firebase itself. If I refresh here, look at the signing in information. I already changed it to the date also at this moment that I actually signed in with the user. There's still a delay here, something that we need to catch up and we need to fix. So let me try again. User at fake.com, fake123, enter. Doesn't work. If I try again, doesn't work. But to login, the actually login does. So is something happening just too fast? Let me go to my login view. And probably the only things that we need to do, there you go. We just need to make this asynchronous. and this login need to be await. So we're going to wait for that to happen before to verify this status. Let's log out, let's log in. Let's try one more time. User at fake.com, fake123, and now it's working with a simple enter. We were not waiting because now we need to wait for the process to actually for the call to actually to process. So we just need to make the call logging in. Well, you were able to see that without minor changes, we just handle an authentication, and that's actually pretty neat. So our user authentication is working the way it's supposed to. Wait, let me do one more thing. Let me remove this login in false. I don't need it. Where is my login in? There you go. Let's do one more thing. It's going to be user at fake.com and fake123. My secret and my logout actually not working. So let me go to my nav view. There you go. So we're talking about individual. Let me do this code. Select all instance of a word. Control Shift L. Okay, so if I do this one, Control Shift L, and I can do yellow. Perfect. Now everything is yellow. Cool. So now we have access to the secret page, and we have access to the user. This is actually pretty neat. We were able to handle authentication actually really fast. We already had the main methods created, and we're just using the same flow somehow now with the proprietary information that Firebase requires. What we are going to be doing now is I want to change my login page, and I will duplicate this. Actually, let's go to the Firebase, and we saw there is another method called create user email with username and password. So this will help us to actually create a new user, and the process is pretty much the same. That means that we can go to the use authorization, use out, oops, there you go, and I can pretty much copy all this over and paste it, and I will call this sign up, but I will just now just create user with email and password that need to be imported, of course, and it's going to be created here, but the process is pretty much the same. Right? So if we do that, we need to export the login, the sign up, logout, and the user. And let's do one more thing for the logout. It's not only that. Let's look for Firebase logout. Logout, sign out. There you go. We get the authorization, but we need to get the sign out too from there, so we can actually just call comma sign out from the same place, and we just call this one the authorization. We already had it, so we just call sign out Firebase out, and we need to make this to be a wait, and we need to make this to be asynchronous, and that's it. That's going to be the method to sign out. And now I'm not handling errors right now, but that's okay for now. So what I want to do is in my login, I want to be able to not only to log in, to actually to register if I need to. So for that, actually let me update everything. I will do login Firebase done. And now what I need to do, we already have the sign up method. We just need to apply that to our login page. So what I've been doing here is in my button, I will create a div here. I will put my button for the login inside. That's okay. I will duplicate my button, and my second button will be sign up. Okay. Let's change the second button to be green, just because. And let's change to be yellow. Okay. So let me do and this element. Oh, this one. I need to change the type. It's not type submit anymore. And this will change, instead of submit will be at click. I need to do something. And what I need to be doing is from here I need to import the sign up. And I'm pretty much sign up. I will send my username and my password, and that's probably a lazy one. Probably need to do something like this, but should work in theory. Let's make this button to look a little bit better. Let's change this class to be flex, and we can change this one and this one to be flex grow. Actually no, let's do width 1/2, and here let's actually add a space x of 2. So we have our login, we have the sign up. So in theory, if I do another at email.com, let's call this fake 123. Let's put the same password. If I click sign up, I just sign it up to the page. Welcome, another email. If we go here to our Firebase and I refresh or reload, we have now another at email. We're able just to sign up the user with a simple click at the button. So probably we actually need to do something like this. So let's refactor this a little bit. Let's make cons signing up. Wow. And when sign up is authenticated value, router push, else invalid. Yeah, something like this could work. But something that I just noticed is, because this is actually exactly the same, we can actually remove this and create another one. Cons go to home. We're going to be doing set that. That means that Here we're going to use go to home, and here instead of all this we're going to use go to home. Yeah, just not to repeat the code, to be as clean as possible. And we just can, instead of calling all this, we just call the signing up. Should be more than enough. So let's do a logout, and let's call this third email.com fake123 sign up. Welcome to your email, and that user is already created in Firebase. So just with that, we're actually able to implement Firebase authentication through our app. The next step will be pretty much just to deploy the application itself. So let me just open my terminal. I do a git status. I believe I need to fix something. Yes. So git add everything, git commit -m, and I will call this register done. And there's another method that we can actually do with the registration, and that's actually the user profile. So there's a way to pull up manage users. You can actually get the current user, and you can get the profile. So we can actually get the user, and this is pretty much the information that we have there. We can get the email, the photo URL, email verified, and the display name, and the UID, of course. But display name is not there by default when you are doing local authentication. You need to create that, and that's updating the user profile. That means that we need to get the current user, and we need to update the profile of that user, and you change, for example, the display name to something. We change the photo URL, and probably we will do doing that in a future app. It's outside the scope right now, but just to let you know that that's the way to get or create a name for that. But at this moment, I believe it's more than enough the way that we had it. Okay, so let me do git push or git master. There you go. Let me open my console. Let me cancel it. Let me go to my server. Is that my server? I don't remember. brotherroman.com. There you go. I can able to go through here. Excellent. So let me go to let me actually list everything here. Let me go to projects, and I can do now, it's a simple, let's go to github.com rromanb, that's my username, and through here I should be able to go to my repositories, and the view login is right there. So let me just you can see the readme changes when we put it there, but let me, where is it? Let me make it bigger. There you go. I will copy the URL and make this bigger, and let's do git clone this part. We go to the view login. I will install my dependencies, and there is something extra that I need to do before we actually deploy, and this is going to be really important. So after I install my dependencies, remember that we actually not saving the Firebase config. We need to create the Firebase config in here. So in my case, I will go to my source directory. I will do I will use BI, but you can actually use nano. You can use nano too. So let's do nano. Firebase config.js is what we call it inside the source directory. Remember, it's where we actually save it. And from that, the only thing that I need to do is open my Firebase config, select everything, and pretty much pasted it. Control X, yes, enter. I will get back one level, npm run build, just so that everything goes smoothly. Yeah. Everything is there. Let's go to my distribution folder. Perfect. Let me pwd, let me save this one somewhere else, just in case. Let me do now sudo bi etc nginx configuration, and let's do view login.configuration. Put your password there. There you go. And if I remember correctly, I need to do server, and I do listen, import 80, and then I believe I need to do server name. It's going to be view login, is how I call it. Let me go to my, how I call it here. Let me go to my usage, no, user sign in method, view login, I call it. Oh, before I proceed to, I need to go to my DigitalOcean. And what I'm going to do now, I will go to here, go to my domain, and I will create the view login pointing to my server. Let's make this small. Probably should be bigger, but let's keep it like that for now. Oh, something got wrong. I need to log out as login. Somehow my browser keep the session, but DigitalOcean doesn't take accommodation for saving. I don't know why. Okay, let me try again. Let's do view login. I will do that one. 3, create record. Perfect, it's already there. That means that I can proceed with this one over there. Okay, so it's that one. Let me just view login.rodoroman.com. That's in my case. And then need to go to the root, and the root will be pretty much what I have, my distribution folder. Remember that I already give permission to that, and I do that my index is my index.html. Let's go, remember, always finish with a semicolon. So after I have that, I do a simple location for the root, and I will do try files $URI $URI forward slash, go to the index.html, and I close this and I close this. Save it, nginx-t to test, and can download certificate for basic route. You fail it, permission denied. Oh, I do sudo. Yeah, missing. So sudo nginx-t, yeah, it's working. So they do sudo nginx S reload. Let's verify this is actually working. Oh, let's do now sudo servbot dash nginx just to verify if you find it correctly. My view login is there, so let me actually do for enter, and I wait for a couple of minutes. Deploying the certificate, done. And that should be more than enough. And let's close all this. And let me open my, where I keep it, this. Let's do view login.radoroman.com. It's already secure. We can see the app. If I do login, I can do fake at, no, we call it user at fake.com, fake123, enter, welcome, and we can access the secret page. We can do logout. I can do /secret. You just send me to the login. Let me try it now. I call it a third, I believe, at email.com, fake123, login, welcome third email, cool. If I do refresh, go to login, yeah, I'm not saving the case, so that means let's do the other one. Let's actually create final at email.com. Let's call this again fake123, sign up, and yes, we're able to sign in with a new user. You go to the users, finally it's already there with the date that they're actually signing in. So with that, and in under an hour, we're able to have a real login using Firebase basic authentication. On the next video, we will pretty much do it now using Google authentication. But for now, I believe it's more than enough. Remember, in order to do the assignment, you need to provide the GitHub URL, your application deploy, this is URL for the application deploy, you need to provide both. And you need to change something. I recommend change color, change image, and make this secret page a little bit better. I don't know, put something different than just a simple lorem in there. If you can actually provide that, that will be great. Other than that, I hope that you like it. Any question, any doubt, don't hesitate to reach me. Happy coding, everybody.